newbies. This is Natasha. I was just about to sit down to my computer and work on a few things, and I figured that maybe this would be a good time to talk to you about another area that is really important for having a well run classroom, and that is figuring out what is running your classroom. As a new teacher, how do you decide when it's time to move on from a unit? Is it based on a pacing guide only? Is it based on the effectiveness of the lessons that you've been presenting? And if it is, how do you determine how effective your lessons have been? This is where data can be invaluable. Data can be used to establish that children have understood principles that you have taught. It can help guide you in helping you to understand which topics may need remediation, and it can also be useful for showing progress. Let's take a look. The first thing that you can use data for is to show progress toward a particular goal. As you can see here, I have a spreadsheet that I set up for ELA for a lower elementary class, and I was measuring, I believe, letter recognition for lowercase letters. And you can see here at the beginning of the year, the children were averaging just over 35% in letter recognition. So one of the first things that you can use data for is to measure your progress in a particular goal. In my classroom, I was measuring progress on letter recognition in ELA. At the beginning of the school year, we started out at about 35% mastery, and that became my baseline. Not only did I establish an overall baseline, but I also established baselines for each and every letter, so I would know what my level of recognition was for each and every lowercase letter. Then I measured mastery again later on in the year. As you can see here, by March of the school year, things had gotten quite a bit different, and the children had gone from just over, I believe, 35% mastery to almost 96% mastery in lowercase letter recognition. And not only did I have an idea of the overall mastery, but I was able to track for each and every letter the level of mastery. This was accomplished simply by using an Excel spreadsheet, entering the names of my children, and then entering each letter that I was tracking data for. And I did that at least twice during the year. Another way that you can use data is to adjust instruction as the teacher. As you can see here, I have a spreadsheet that I put together on phonemic awareness. Since I knew that that was an area that could impact my children as far as their ability to acquire their letter sounds and to begin becoming strong readers. So I began to track specific areas in phonemic awareness to help me better understand which areas I needed to attack first as a teacher. Using the data, I could tell that the children were becoming pretty strong at being able to hear initial sounds in words, but they were still struggling in being able to tell how many syllables they were hearing. As a result, I was able to adjust my ELA lessons to include clapping exercises and other things where they had to focus on the number of syllables in the word instead of the initial sound. I was even able to use data to get very specific in my level of instruction. For example, instead of just focusing on telling if two individual words rhymed, I could tell that my students seemed to struggle when there was more than one word given, or rather more than two words given, and telling if they rhymed. So if they were given 3 words, they seemed to have a little more trouble in figuring out which one was a word that didn't rhyme. So little tweaks like that that you can make in your instruction can really make all the difference. Another way that you can use data is to differentiate instruction. So as you can see here, I had a number of students at the beginning of the year that did not recognize any sounds or recognized very few of their letter sounds. However, I had a few students that came in at least with some level of recognition of their sounds. I was able to use this data to put them in a group and differentiate their instruction to focus just on the sounds that they didn't know, whereas some of my other students could be put in groups to focus on all initial letter sounds. As you can see here, I also was able to use data to differentiate instruction in the area of phonemic awareness. Again, you have some students that are coming in with a moderate level of understanding of phonemic awareness, but then you have some students that are a little bit stronger, and I was able to use this information to put these children in a different group and focus just on what they needed. And then I was able to continue tracking and notice there were some students that had a level of phonemic awareness that was even higher, and therefore maybe they were ready to get started in reading or in other areas. If you take my suggestions and you begin to take data on how your children are doing, you take a baseline at the beginning of the year, you track how you're doing on individual standards and in their progress, you will be able to be a data superstar by the end of your first year. There will be no doubt as to what is running the major decisions in your classroom. It will be data. And you will be well on your way to having a well-run classroom.